Alright, after this, what happens? Let's expand away from Kirtungol. We'll be able to come back later and see there's a new region able for us to get. Nurnen. Although, like I said, we're not gonna get to the same territories of the first game. Instead, we're gonna get to an island that is actually, in the surrounding area. As usual, again, Nurnen is, still a bit green and not completely touched yet by Sauron's malevolence.
You hear that sound? That is the forest of Carnan. I'm not our concern.
I'm sure that's not important.
Uh-huh. Because you've just been the best guide on all things, haven't you, Celebrimbor?
Fine, let's get back to work.
That encampment is full of warriors. Our warriors.
I guess they usually only go after orcs because, at the very least, orcs are the ones going after them. So I guess it's more right to do that than to literally do it to an innocent species.
Well, at least I guess that's what Talion thinks. Celebrimbor just wants an army.
Oh yeah, but I'm guessing if it were up to Celebrimbor, almost anyone could be drafted.
Pretty much, but again, it's Talion still in the pilot seat. Anyway, like I said, this having the ring automatically switches your branding into, the conversion. Again, works just like in the previous game, with the difference of being a little faster, so you never get the feeling that you can be interrupted while doing it, which is actually, very welcome, because in the previous game, one constant problem was trying to brand was a bit, too slow. The one thing that I don't really like that the game does is this Halo thing about, every time you rebrand someone, their armor and clothing changes from red to blue, like you're playing a fucking RTS, and like, come on, guys. The first game did not do that. It feels really unnecessary, because on a visual level, I can still distinguish them even without the color of the armor. It doesn't really help much. I don't know.
Gives a real red versus blue vibe, doesn't it?
And again, using the going to the raid mode, you can still your troops are still highlighted with with a yellow code or a blue one. So the game actually recognizes the fact that you're not they're not still your enemy.
Can imagine it. Can imagine this in universe. Excuse me, sir. Lieutenant Gormus over there has had his colours changed to blue. Should this be a concern?
Yeah, that's another thing. The other enemies do not notice that. They will only start noticing if our troops actually attack them.
So as long as we keep them relatively separated well enough, they shouldn't prematurely attack.
It's not even that. Unless there are specific conditions, your troops will not attack until you give the signal.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Again, the entire point of this mission is to brand these archers so you're in position, and then start a massacre on everyone else.
This sounds like my kind of mission.
Well, no, Dweebs, you will just go around killing everyone, on your own instead of branding people.
I think you're really gonna... It's a shame...
Yes.
No, I was about to make some kind of joke, but it wouldn't work.
Okay.
Basically, if there were non-speaking lines for the Emperor in Final Fantasy 16, those would be perfect for it. Because in true Star Wars fashion, again, Final Fantasy likes to take from Star Wars, the Emperor is it's basically Hitler in that game.
I mean, that seems to be the general track of the entire franchise, where, empires and emperors are automatically, the bad guy. Well, instead, kingdoms are considered instead, good type of government.
Oh yeah, Final Fantasy II especially cribbed a
Well,
lot
Final
from
Fantasy II
Star
is
Wars.
blatant in Star Wars.
Yeah.
12 also, but more for an aesthetic when it comes
Yeah.
instead of to the story.
To give you an idea, there's literally a speech where he goes about sacrificing even his own citizens for the sake of something like one of his
Greater
conquests,
good.
and his argument against his son, the prince that disagrees with it, is, and I quote: "For yes, there will be losses. That's it. Yet for every home that falls, another can be rebuilt. For every citizen that dies, another can be bred." Like, that's it. The citizens are just math numbers to him.
So basically, he could have quoted Lord Farquaad from the first Shrek, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to take.
Also, I love the I love how this mission is basically you basically win by doing nothing.
Well,
that's part of the
technically
point.
there was a lot of
You're-
preparation for that.
True, but what Dibs is saying is the execution.
Yeah,
That's part of the
prepare
point.
to
Dibs.
do
Again,
nothing.
branding the army is for doing a lot of heavy lifting that Talion and Celebrimbor still cannot do overall. They're just two people in one body. For as powerful as they are, it's best if they have manpower on them. Sure, could have helped if it wasn't brainwashed, but you work with what you have.
I kind of wish the functionality of this in Force Unleashed 2 was a bit more like this, to be honest.
That's also the thing, Waves. In the meantime, I'm just showing instead to give you an idea how the equipment, works. Like I said, there you go. You literally destroy the weapon to gain the currency, Drova.
I see. Okay, I get that, Mick. I mean, I was aware of the selling mechanic. I just didn't recall that it was called destroying it. So when the game mentioned destroying stuff, I thought it meant you could actually destroy it in combat.
To answer your question, Waves, it's a bit tricky because while they try to zigzag a bit around it, I get the idea there's a sort of a mandate in company that LucasArts and Lucasfilm absolutely they do not want to show the Jedi mind trick being used for completely evil action. Sure, a bit of ambiguity, like what Qui-Gon tries to do in the prequels, I guess. But outright complete mind control, I don't know. Again, I forgot if in the expanded universe there's a Sith that actually has it and manages to do it for evil people. But thinking it right now, I don't think that's the case. Feel free to correct me in the comments.
Okay, you got your ranged weapon.
Yeah, that's the thing that I didn't mention. As soon as you acquire back the ring, he gets his own weapon slot, a rune. It doesn't really, unlike the rest of the gear, it's not really reflected, on the ring itself. It's just a perk, that applies. But again, analyzing each weapon's perk, it makes you wonder. It's not just about the stat, but what extra useful ability you can get. For example, in this case, chances that your attack can poison an enemy, for example. And there are some that can be really game-breaking, if you want. Like, for example, after you perform a particular action, the game may give you like a 20-second of invisibility where you can perform, stealth kills, which can help you in a tough fight, particularly against maybe a captain that's surrounded by a lot of enemies, It also basically embraces whatever, fighting style you want to prefer. Very customizable, yes. The only thing that doesn't change, that cannot be done, is to transfer abilities from one weapon to another. You just have to work with what you have and essentially, make the best of it. Like I said, the gem instead are extra perks that you can add, and you can actually, forge 3 units of lower element to gain 1 of a better element. You even get a trophy the first time you manage to craft one on the far right, as in one perfect gem, quote unquote.
Interesting.
Now that being said, let's spend the rest of the part actually, going back to purify the Hadir and instead, searching for the collectibles. For the time being, you have 2 missions with 2 quest lines that you can, follow these. You can continue with what, Celebrimbor has told you and start, continuing building your army. Or you can follow that, voice, alluring voice that Talion heard, and actually investigate over the forest of Karnan. But
Huh.
again, we'll do those in due time.
Funny, the last time we heard an alluring voice, that led us to the giant evil spider, so... I don't know.
Jova, like, come on, Jova, let's give an extra chance, I don't know.
I guess. Alright, Talion, you spent enough time with the sexy human spider, it's time to do your research with artifacts again.
But the sexy human spider is my research.
Sure it is.
What are you researching? Anatomy?
Yes.
How thorough?
I mean, apparently, from what the early screenings told us, apparently in Baldur's Gate 3, you can fuck a druid in bear form. So I guess why not?
People love to do some weird stuff in medieval sex fantasies.
Hell, there was an episode of Red Dwarf where part of it was just basically one of the main characters entering a medieval jousting game via virtual reality, so he can screw the queen.
Of course. Well, wouldn't that be a story? Punished Talion, a man denied his family, rebounds onto Shelob, the sexy spider.
So basically, yeah. If ever you wanted to hear Brian Cox say weird stuff, then there you go. That's your episode.
Well, again, like you said, as long as the longer you live, you'll end up seeing and hearing everything. I guess.
I will say this: all joking aside, I've had about sexy human Shelob, it doesn't feel too fanficky. Well, okay. Let me clarify. It doesn't read like bad fan fiction yet, to my knowledge. Like sure,
I said, it's perfect because of her set of powers. It's perfectly reasonable to accept in terms of suspension of disbelief that she will be able to have this kind of ability and use her at will. Like I said, she's not just a giant spider. She's much more than that.
Again, the main question would just be, why didn't she use these against Frodo? That probably would have been a lot more...
Like I said, by the time of the events of Lord of the Rings, remember, her progeny has been essentially extinct. She's literally called the last daughter, the last child of Ungoliant, and she had been weakened. The book goes into detail into describing, but the reason why Sam did not manage to finish her off with Stinger, despite, remember, that's supposed to be a magical elf sword from the first stage, despite that, he wasn't able to finish her because her body was so old and so basically weakened by this point, but was full of tumors. Yeah.
So you're saying she pulled a Deadpool, wherein
kinda.
She can't die because she has super cancer.
It's not necessarily about, regenerating health, but more the fact that, again, their body has been, too accustomed that, she's not too much of a key player by the time Frodo and Sam arrive.
Which is funny because going off of the movies, which did play her up as a big deal, apparently she is as good as dead last we heard.
Well, we only see her retreating in the shadows, but we never heard of her again. Again, considering the outcome of the movies, it's safe to assume that eventually she either died of natural causes, or she retreated, for example, or she died out. People found her and died out. There's a lot to unpack. fun fact, well, something similar was supposed to happen to her mother in the Silmarillion, where after she tried to double-cross, Melkor or Morgoth, call it whatever you want, she basically just disappears. But she was supposed to be originally killed in the climax of the book, because that one involves like a giant fight, that literally plays the physical land as we know it. There's an entire section told about how there's this huge ass dragon called Ancalagon, that's so big that the moment he is actually fallen, he levels up mountains just by falling onto the ground. It's kind of like a Pokédex description on that matter. But again, Ungoliant was supposed to show up during that final fight and be killed. I don't remember necessarily by whom, but again, the point was she was supposed to be killed. But instead, she essentially gets a Karma Houdini and just disappears for the rest of the story. Like I said, well, the Silmarillion is basically a collage of stories that got integrated, and a lot of them were put in order, by Tolkien's children. So I get the idea why they did not found any material that involved, killing Ungoliant, alas.
I guess the only question I do have in regards that does make Shelob's role in this feel weird is that it feels like she is much more on the good guy's side against Sauron, whereas in the movies it felt like
all will become clear in the end. All you need to know is that she has her own agenda, basically.
So aside from, of course, giving her a sexy human form, is there perhaps something I've not seen yet which explains why the fan base were at first up in arms in regards to Shelob's
It's literally just on a physical level.
Oh. What's... okay, like...
Essentially, the devs did mention also that it took inspiration when it comes to having this ability, this particular ability, from a similar character that in the Silmarillion can, shapeshift between a woman and a bat. But again, the entire reason why the fanbase was not cool with it mostly was because, like I said, while perfectly possible, it really just feel done for the sake of having it, rather than wanting to experiment with the canon or anything, or like it feels more cheaper than necessary.
I guess I don't feel like that because, again, they much as
I'm telling what the others said.
Oh yeah. Hold on. I was about to go somewhere with that. Like, I'm wondering. Well, okay. How did you feel about it when you first experienced that?
It's exactly like I just told you, Jova. Since I read the books, I know that because of her power level, she kept doing this. I don't mind, but I can see what they were doing. It's kind of not necessarily on a provocatory level, but yeah, I could have lived without it.
Right.
Simple as.
For me personally, I think like if they had done some obvious stuff like, oh, of course, shipped her with Talion, then I would have rolled my eyes more.
No.
But at the very least, they seem to have kept stuff relatively tame. Like,
alright, watch this is important. I leave Celebrimbor's silhouette like that, and now that I'm gonna get this memory from Shadow specifically. Pay attention when I actually come back, so go on, Joe, in the meantime.
How nice to show up to leave us this memory here, but it's like, I mean, I'm not entirely against the idea since, okay, going by, the viewpoint of a dev, we had never seen Shelob talk in spider form, so I guess it would make sense that she needs to turn human to speak. Although, if I recall correctly, we started to hear her voice before she turned human. If I recall that scene correctly.
She had some kind of telepathy of some kind, yeah.
I guess maybe the telepathy wears on her a bit and she wanted to speak physically. Although, interestingly enough, these flashbacks seem to suggest that she was using this human form even back then.
After Sauron will come peace.
Well, that's nice and everything, and
what the heck?
Celebrimbor.
What are you doing, my dude?
He's poisoning while his head is on his there.
Just.
What the fuck?
I guess he wanted to be a literal dickhead.
The curse strikes once more.
Minas Ithil's bookshelves cannot compare to the great libraries of Minas Ithil.
Right, there's one faction of evil humans that I haven't talked about when I actually compile them. The Corsairs of Umbar. They live near Harad, but they're not, like Hadi Aradrim. They're basically like Caribbean pirates. In the movies, we got only a snippet of that, especially in the a bit more so in the extended cut. But that's their entire shtick.
You know, it'd be funny if one of the artifacts you could come across is a Hobbit's tail. Like, I know why that wouldn't work, but that would be such a cool
Well,
Easter
we did
egg.
got a pipe, and the game doesn't identify if it's from a human or a halfling.
Ranger, eh? Thought I'd see the entire world.
Well, hey, you're getting to see the world now, so that's nice, ain't it? Shame about the circumstances behind it, but hey, not everyone can say that
Well, that's classic RPG. In a lot of RPGs, the protagonist does starting with this kind of childlike wandering, wanting to see the world, and then it's never like they wanted. The first Grandia is a great example of that.
Its filigrees form a seal that marks correspondence as surely as a signature. This ring may be all that's left of Hamassir's line. I know they perished when Minas Ithil fell.
This is the kind of ring that would be used, against wax in order to create a sigil for letters.
Nice. Belongs in a museum.
I knew them. A long time ago.
I doubt they have any further use for it.
I mean...
Damn! Jeez, even though he's dead, Celebrimbor still has no chill.
The ability to scry, to see beyond the limit of ordinary vision, has always fascinated us. Those who claim to scry say pools of still water held in an antique bowl can foresee Mordor's many
This
dangers.
is if you forgot the metal Galadriel uses to have some clairvoyancy.
But the bowl lacks the range or clarity of the Palantir. And I wonder whether it shows us anything beyond what we might wish to be true.
Isn't that kind of how fate works, honey?
Could the elves scry with such a bowl?
Yes, and doing so was safer than using a Palantir.
Yeah.
Because the
Man,
visions
even
travel
without the
in only one
Palantir in the main plot, he still mentions it.
Oh well.
Time for another Web of Fate. You know, actually, that sounds like an interesting title for a Spider-Man game. Spider-Man, Web of Fate.
Yeah, I'm surprised that nobody ever thought of that one.
Me
I'm pretty
too.
sure the comics had one storyline that was called like that.
I know we had Web of Death and Web of Life, but let me... You know what? I'm gonna check and see.
Like with decades of different runs and everything, I'm confident that there's at least
Well, to be fair,
one.
Joe was talking about the video games, not the franchise in general.
Okay. I am actually surprisingly not finding a story called Web of Fate after a Google search.
Huh.
There's Web of Life and
Have you typed it
Destiny.
in?
There's Web of Life
Typed
and...
it in commas.
Let me see.
Your speech text, maybe.
Okay, I think you mean quotes, by the way, since that's usually what
Yeah,
does
that.
it. At most, I'm finding fan fictions or fan projects with that name, but nothing official. The closest I'm getting is a story called Web of Life and Destiny.
Yeah, which is, if I recall correctly, not from too long ago. Yeah, it's from 2000. I think it was from 2010. I forgot. Whatever.
But yeah, no, surprisingly, there's apparently no official Spider-Man story with the title Web of Fate.
Wow, for decades of comic runs, different names, I'm very surprised.
Same. Well, I learned something new today.
We Gondorians are a seafaring people. Though our ships ply
A model of an elven ship.
You know, that looks like a nice ship for our protagonist to sail off to on a better life for.
In ships like this model, sailors even claim it's possible to sail so far into the ocean that land is too distant to see in any direction. Hard to imagine. So I suppose I'll have to see it for myself someday.
Did the elves truly sail in vessels such as these?
In the First Age, this would count among the most ordinary ships in our fleet.
There'll be bigger scope in the Silmarillion. Some of the ships used are massive.
Gondor's roots are literal ones, for our realm is intertwined with the White Tree, our greatest symbol and inspiration. Isildur himself gave our people the sapling that would grow into the White Tree, and it survived attacks from Sauron, plagues, and multiple transplants as Gondor's borders shifted in war. Today, the White Tree stands in our capital, Minas Ithil, though it will not blossom again until the king returns, as my father once said.
The White Tree, symbol of Gondor.
Your nation will need more than symbols to inspire it soon enough.
My first drill instructor told me, trust in your training, not your armor. Even a finely wrought plate can buckle under a hard enough blow, but a skilled warrior can evade that blow so it never lands in the first place. Now Minas Ithil has buckled under. Some blows are impossible to evade, so we do the next best thing. Stand back up again, wounded as we are.
Oh, that sounds like a sound strategy.
Yeah, if you get hit, get back up again.
This armor
Sure.
is intended to be ceremonial, yet it seems...
Even if your head gets cut off, well, that might be a bit tricky then.
Gondor has little need for ceremony of late.
You don't say.
Alright, let's get the last piece of Ithildin of a place.
I mean, considering the maniac that's running it, am I surprised?
Honestly, aside from the Shire, are there any purely
Alright,
happy
hold on,
places?
this is important. While I'm waiting to get the artifact, I essentially interrogate this worm to learn about, another captain that may be roaming around. This guy, an assassin. Oh, that's cool enough. So now I'm gonna get the artifact now.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just look for him later.
Don't worry, guys, the Rebel Alliance will save us.
Thundering seas to the west, the greatest realm of men before it sank beneath the waves.
That looks like something that would have come from...
Mostly
Ancient Rome, like
Yeah.
I said, the description says it's a Númenórean helm. Like I said, the Númenóreans were essentially the progenitors of Gondor. They had a similar fate like Atlantis. So they have a giant island, where the technology was a bit higher. Then they almost defeated Sauron. He became prisoner. He corrupted them. He forced them to go against the gods, and he got destroyed. Oh no!
Where the hell did you come from?
Because I get intel about this guy, he decided to track me down instead.
How did he find out we got intel on him already? It was just...
Well, he's good at his job, Jova. He's an assassin.
He must be. We only found out about him in literally about a minute ago.
Like I said, Jova, you had to potentially, because of the RNG, you can get guys like these, where as soon as you get intel, they become aware of that and instead track you down, and specifically because of that.
Is that a trait of the assassin class?
Potentially, yes. Oh well.
What goes on?
It's not like he'll get back up again. Oh, wait.
I mean,
Well, there is a chance, but who knows?
Yeah, that's my point. There
basically-
literally is a chance he could get back up again.
It's a
Yeah,
bit of
so
a
basically-
paranoia fuel, but it does the job.
Yeah, these guys are basically the Immortals or the Zystians from Highlander.
Well, that's the thing. Apparently, even taking their heads off won't stop them.
Don't worry, Jova, we will have an example of that. Oh. Oh, that's also this. This game also introduced this blood brother mechanic. Some orcs might be bound in couple to each other via a blood brother pact. So if you so if one of them dies, either you kill them or in another case, the blood brother will search for you as for vengeance.
So let's just map out how our day has gone so far. We just found intel on an assassin who immediately decided to come right after us, and killing him then prompted his blood brother to now chase us. Like, what's next? Does it turn out that this guy's uncle or niece is now gonna come after us too?
Thankfully, no, because again, the blood brother mechanics can happen only between two orcs, nothing more. So.
Although, wouldn't it be funny if his blood brother came back from the dead and then wanted to avenge his blood brother who tried to avenge him?
I guess it might be possible, but I never, never encountered that.
Again, credit where credit is due. There is a massive amount of customization that had to have gone into the Nemesis mechanic,
and
especially
again,
for the sequel.
It does provide life to the formula, which otherwise would be your standard traditional, Far Cry clone.
Mm-hmm.
Not every author seeks to
A construction manual.
Some seek to instruct. So
How nice. Looks like a
your first IKEA, construction set.
Oh boy. Looks like a playpen almost.
I think it's for a cradle, but the one behind is for a trebuchet.
Well, yeah, playpen and cradle. They're not entirely the same things, but general idea. Keep the baby in.
Boy, I like this comment that Talion and Celebrimbor have.
As a lad, I was always fascinated by woodwork. Turning boards into furniture, a home.
Talion the craftsman. That I'd have liked to see.
You would have been a great guest star on Home Improvement. Now on Disney Plus.
Have him for the next, the next commercial for Home Depot.
It's actually pronounced Home Depot, but yeah.
Jova, I believe it's pronounced Depot.
Who cares?
I found scant reference to her in our books, but I know her name means tree maiden, and she's said to have hair of gold and silver. She was an elven monarch of the First Age. What wonders she must
Sure would have been nice to meet her.
Alas. Well, what Celebrimbor does know about her?
Did you know Galadriel?
Know her. She is an aunt of sorts.
Wait, Galadriel's that old?
Well, remember, firstborn Jova.
Oh, right, she is a first-age elf. And yet somehow she is not nearly as pompous as all the other elves, regardless of what age.
Those who live in
Well, she can be pretty scary.
Oh.
Gondor's people devote more than a moment's thought to its borders, or what lies beyond. For them, the threat of Mordor is distant indeed.
Mordor? Nah.
I've never seen a map of Gondor so detailed.
Yet look at how little your people know of other lands.
Still, that's some interesting trivia. We're walking around with one of Galadriel's nephews, it seems.
All sorts, yes.
Even the memory of it must be purged. Do not think of what is lost. Think only of what will be. This is the story the Dark Lord tells himself. This is the story that will bring an end to Middle-earth.
Alright.
There you are. Oh.
She learned from Sauron as I did. She survived him as I did.
Then there is wisdom in these words.
I guess. Anyway, since we collected all the Ithil Dina, let's reach the barrow of this place.
Neat. Ooh, that don't sound
There we
good.
go. Alright, I don't remember if his poem actually is also from the book. Most of them are, so this is probably tied to that. Again, you have to remember that I'm mostly knowledgeable about the Italian translations of these. But what it is faithful. Some terms do sound different when spoken in a different language.
Well, Tolkien was English, so
British.
yeah, specifically English. So technically, the English terms are the proper ones he came up with.
Yeah. No, I was talking just for myself.
Let our foes fortify with iron and stone. Let them summon scabrous serpents, feral beasts. It will avail them naught. Across
You
the
know,
ages,
you're kind of
none
tempting
have
fate
armies
with
built
big
such
boisterous
weapons,
boasts like
such
that.
doom against the dark benighted hordes who
Well, considering we haven't had a game after this, I'm willing to bet something's happened.
Well, anyway, our reward is the Bright Lord's bow.
And your reward is not closed this time.
No.
Nope. You could have a string on a giant stick.
Again, it looks like a compound bow for some reason.
Fancy.
In fact, you can make any awesome sounding weapon sound really mundane if you describe it like that. Here, have a metal sheet with a handle on it.
Anyway, tune in for the next part where we follow what Celebrimbor told us and start building our army.
Very nice.
So yeah.
See ya.